All eyes are on China's port city of Tianjin, where the 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO Summit, is underway, bringing together over 20 heads of state and government. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived for the high-stakes diplomatic gathering and has already held key bilateral meetings, including a significant one with China's President Xi Jinping.
हमारे गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। पिछले वर्ष कयान में हमारी बहुत ही सार्थक चर्चा हुई। हमारे संबंधों को एक सकारात्मक दिशा मिली। सीमा पर डिसएग्रीमेंट के बाद शांति और स्थिरता का माहौल बना हुआ। हमारे स्पेशल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स के बीच बॉर्डर मैनेजमेंट के संबंध में सहमति बनी। कैलाश मानसरोवर यात्रा फिर से शुरू की। दोनों देशों के बीच डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट भी फिर से शुरू की जा रही है। हमारे सहयोग से दोनों देशों के 2.8 बिलियन लोगों के हित जुड़े हुए। इससे पूरी मानवता के कल्याण का मार्ग भी प्रशस्त होगा। परस्पर विश्वास, सम्मान और संवेदनशीलता के आधार पर हम अपने संबंधों को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। एथेंस से चीन द्वारा SCO की सफल अध्यक्षता के लिए मैं आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं।
欢迎你来华出席2025年上海会议峰会。去年我们已在喀山、成都会中印关系重启再燃激发，双方认真落实大使馆共识，两国交往合作不断取得新进展。
Now, in their meeting, Prime Minister Modi raised critical issues, including cross-border terrorism, the need for peace along the India-China border, and the importance of stable relations for regional and global order. Both leaders agreed that strong India-China ties are essential for the Asian century and a multipolar world.
Cross-border terrorism, look, all I'll say is that without going into the specifics, that the issue was discussed. It was raised by the Prime Minister, and he outlined his understanding very, very crisply and very specifically on this issue. As I said, he outlined the fact that this is a scourge that both China and India have been victims of, and India is still combating this menace. And he asked for China's support on this particular issue. And as I said, the Chinese have extended their support in various ways on addressing this issue. They both agreed that the two countries were primarily focused on their domestic development goals, and in this they were partners rather than rivals. It was also an element of consensus between them that a stable and amicable relationship between India and China can be to the benefit of the 2.8 billion people who live in the two countries. The common interests of the two countries outweigh their differences, and the two leaders also shared a consensus on the fact that differences should not be allowed to be turned into disputes. It was also understood that it is critical that India and China grow and cooperate if there is to be an Asian century and a functioning multipolar world order with a multipolar Asia at its heart.
Now, the summit chaired by China's President Xi Jinping marks 25 years of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, and is being described by China as one of its most important diplomatic events of the year. Now, among other prominent leaders in attendance are Russia's President Vladimir Putin, with whom Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to hold bilateral talks on Monday. The two-day event will culminate in a leaders' session, followed by a grand military parade in Beijing on the 3rd of September to mark the 80th anniversary of victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japan and the end of World War II. We have Dr. B.R. Deepak, sinologist and professor of Chinese Studies at JNU, joining us. We have Manish Chand, CEO, Center for Global India Insights, also with us. Thank you both of you gentlemen for taking time out to be with us. Dr. B.R. Deepak, how do you view these developments in the context of what's happening? I mean, it's a tariff war with the US, and it looks like that relationship is going from bad to worse because now we understand that Donald Trump might not be making it to India for the Quad Summit. In that context, this entire axis that's forming, China, Russia and India, is extremely important in the larger context of the world as such, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as far as India, China, Russia, this troika is concerned, we have been talking about it ever since the 90s. But I think this is the moment when people, excuse me, have been reinforcing the idea that it holds a great promise for the region, for the country, and also for the global peace and security. In the context of India and China, yes, both countries, they have been civilizational states, and they have been, having, you can say, excellent, in fact, glorious tradition of cultural exchanges between both of them. And we had also a very good, you can say, relationship during the 50s. In fact, even before the inception of People's Republic of China, in 1948, I remember in one of my writings mentioning that one of my friend's father, he was representing China News Agency at that point in time from Republic of China. He telling Nehru that Nehru telling him that if India and China holds together, the future of Asia is secure. So I think this is the movement, the kind of rebalancing and the signaling which is happening in Tianjin, injecting positive energy between three of these countries and partnerships. And
Right.
I would say that this would augur well for overall peace and security in the region as well as in the world.
Right. Manish Chand, talk to us in terms of, one important bilateral has already happened. We've had a very detailed understanding of what all went on, and now we're looking forward to the next one on Monday.
So yes, the major overarching outcome of the talks between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping is a major shift in narrative. You see, now what we have, there is a reframing of the relationship from rivals to partners, proactive partners in shaping an Asian century. Now, you see, some of these things, like an Asian century, for example, had become a dead cliche, and that has been revived with some sincerity and force. And especially, when we say that it was the Chinese who were always saying India and China are partners, not rivals. But now Prime Minister Modi has also, or India has also endorsed that narrative, India, and so they are ready to go. This reframing of the India China partnership is a subtle point and that needs emphasizing. So that was a very big ticket thing in terms of narrative. And there were very concrete outcomes, largely from what I see, and I'm in Tianjin for the SCO Summit and this Prime Minister's visit. And what you see is a very positive messaging, very positive signaling. I mean, I have covered so many multilateral summits and the meetings with India. I was in Kazan also. And I was struck by, largely positive, forward, future looking sort of thing. It was reflected in the talks lasted for almost an hour, and there were important takeaways. And one, of course, as I told you, was a narrative, but also uh, uh, this whole idea that of being a multipolar Asia, of being an Asian century, is now back in some ways, which was fading out because of the differences between India and China. And on other issues, important, for example, now, you see, India has been always uh, getting across to the China in a very emphatic manner that maintenance of peace and tranquility on the border holds the master key, is central to improvement, to normalization, and, and predictability and stability in bilateral relations. And now we find that thing has sunk in, and the Chinese do realize, and at least now, of course, we will see how it plays out in reality on the ground, but that whenever the border is disturbed, as it happened in the case of Ladakh and the subsequent Galwan clashes, the entire relationship starts unraveling. It comes unstuck. So that is very clear from India's point of view. I mean, if you come to think of it, for almost more than 3 decades, India-China border was a bloodless border. It was like, never a shot was fired across it till the Ladakh thing happened, till the Galwan clashes happened. And so this reassertion of peace and tranquility on the border at the heart of the relationship, because at the end of the day, the what is the source of tensions between India and China, which happens off and on,
Right.
is the undemarcated border. And also, what I find here is there is a spirit of, there is pragmatism, there is realism. So basically, they are not brushing aside issues.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
know that there are issues. And this was reflected in this assessment. Like, for example, there is a reference that both parties have decided, both countries, not to look at India-China relationship from the lens of third-party relationships. And obviously, the reference here is China's relationship with Pakistan.
And the
which
fact
is,
that both of them are agreeing to discuss terrorism and claiming that both
yes,
are victims of terrorism.
absolutely.
Very important.
Yeah.
First, the bilateral summit, and then Prime Minister Modi going on to attend the SCO Summit, welcomed by China's President Xi Jinping, who also welcomed Russia's President Vladimir Putin a short while after PM Modi having a bilateral meeting, first in 5 years since the Galwan clashes, with China's President Xi Jinping earlier in the day, and eventually the day culminating with Prime Minister Modi's attendance among over 20 other world leaders at the SCO Summit in Tianjin, a port city in northern China. We have Dr. B.R. Deepak, sinologist and professor of Chinese Studies, JNU, Manish Chand, CEO, Center for Global India Insights, with us. Dr. B.R. Deepak, the way forward is going to be critical because, that meeting with Vladimir Putin is going to be important. What comes out of that meeting will tell a lot about how well this troika is forming, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Here again, I would like to reiterate my previous point and a little bit explain it further. Will India and China hold together? So it will, depend on how they resolve their structural inherent structural issues. Mention have been made to multipolar Asia, which I'm still a little skeptical, because we have to work on this issue on our own by strengthening our domestic drivers. So that is one issue. And second, of course, is the structural issue between these two countries as far as the narrative of terrorism is concerned. Even if we have been talking about, there are certain maybe common points, agreements as far as terrorism is concerned. So they have condemned it, but when it comes to cross-border terrorism, then the narratives are very, very different. So that is another issue. And another thing is perhaps the sensitivity which our Prime Minister talked about during his meeting with Xi Jinping: mutual trust, mutual respect, and sensitivity. But it's sensitivity towards each other's, you can say, sensitive issues. For example, border is one, and perhaps Pak is another one. Now, coming to Russia, I think our partnership with Russia is a robust one. It will continue to grow, especially in the context of Trump's tariffs on us. We have already declared that we are going to buy oil, and no one is going to prohibit us on that point. And perhaps also in other areas, in the areas of defense, we already have a robust collaboration. Perhaps we would be looking into more investment from Russia in this sector, especially joint development, and also another area which is also part of the SCO. So that is the digital economy and especially cybersecurity, which in some ways related to the security cooperation between SCO members. So here again, I think we have not explored this area much with Russia. Perhaps some kind of agreement is reached with Russia on this front. Another thing which I think is going to be announced during the summit, perhaps tomorrow, that is the establishment of the SCO Bank. And if that happens, it would institutionalize the finance as it happened similar to AIIB and NDB of BRICS, so which would be extremely good development to happen. And India would be extremely keen on this issue, as we have greatly benefited from AIIB and NDB. Of course, I think the third party, apart from Pakistan, is also America, that is Trump. Why China drifted away from India or reasserted itself in the loss of this equilibrium. It is primarily because of America and the Chinese scholars. So they are very, very vocal about this, that you have gone closer to United States. But again, I think as far as our security is concerned, I don't think we are going to forego our partnership with the United States at this point in time. So we'll see, even if Trump has said that he will not join the Quad. But let us see, but I think we still, it's still too early to conclude that we are going away from Quad.
Definitely. Manish Chand, all of this doesn't mean that, India can, forsake its relationship with the West. That's another crucial relationship that needs to be maintained. Unfortunately, things with the US are going from bad to worse with every passing day. But then India does need to ensure that, the relationship continues. And then there is, because as of today, the US is India's largest trading partner. And then there is the relationship with the UK and the EU as well.
So you see, the US is not only India's largest trading partner, but also sorry. I'm so sorry. But also preeminent strategic partner. And that's not going to change. Because very sorry.
Right. Dr. B.R. Deepak, as we are discussing the ties that are emboldening with China and Russia, yet, as you're rightly pointing out, these are early days, so to speak, but every day from here would be very important. And in that sense, how India manages to turn things around with the US and keep it going will also be equally important.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because as I have told on earlier occasion that, US is the market, not only for us, but also for Chinese, for Russians, if the relationship is turned around, between Trump and Putin. And China primarily, it is an exporting nation, and India would be, a suitable market for China. But of course, this doesn't mean that, there are not possibilities or complementarities for collaboration. We are already collaborating in some of the sectors. Electronics is one of the sectors, so where we import almost 49%, 50% of the Chinese, goods. And solar panel and renewable energy is another sector. So we are highly dependent on Chinese imports, and there are various other sectors, even household goods are there, appliances are there. There are companies that have invested in India. And telecom is another sector. In fact, iPhone production, I would say to some extent, it has also been propped up by the Chinese imports, because many of the components we straight away import from China. And there could be other possibility, and people in India, they are already exploring, for example, in renewable energy, lithium-ion batteries, so on and so forth. I think these are some of the areas where we perhaps could be looking into Chinese investment to flow. But how far, the walk would be, they would be walking the talk. So that is perhaps, we would see in coming days, because there are concerns in China, and some of the very senior scholars, in fact, some of the advisors of Xi Jinping, they have been pronouncing that if we prop up India's manufacturing, we are going to create a challenger, the way Western countries, by propping up China, by way of capital investment and managerial capabilities, they have created a challenger. Right. And perhaps this is this thinking that Chinese, they would be a little cautious in terms of like investing in India and also transferring technology. So India primarily is going to be a market for Chinese manufacturing, and perhaps this new high quality development they have been ratcheting of late.
Right. I'm afraid we're completely out of time here on the conversation. Dr. B.R. Deepak and Manish Chand, thank you so much for taking time out to be this year.